Om Shri Gurubhyo Paramagurubhyo Srimadananda Tirtha Bhagavatpadacharyo Namo Namaha Narayana Paripurna Gunarnavaya Visvodaya Stititolaya Nidhi Prataya Jnana Prataya Vibhuda Sura Saukya Dukkha Satkaranaya Vidataya Namo Namaste Yo Vipralimba Viparita Madiprabodhan Vadan Rasakritavan Bhuvidattvavatam Sarvesvaro Haririti Pratipatakam Tam Ananda Tirtha Munivaryam Namami पूज्याय राघवेन्द्राय सत्यधर्मरताय च भजतां कल्पवृक्षाय नमतां कामधेनुवे सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विश्विदावहै Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Welcome, friends, and we are on to our Kathopanishad journey. This is the last third chapter of the second Adhyaya, and we are into the fifth mantra. So far, what we have seen is the glorious vision of the life. Having seen how we have seen, because how the entire life has been constructed in different ways as to from the infancy as we have grown. The sadhana also goes from stage by stage. As we evolve from one stage to another, we are trying to do ourselves, evaluate ourselves and evolve ourselves. Not only evaluate and evolve ourselves continuously, so that what we can finally do with this body, mind, and intellect, which has been the greatest gift given by the body, greatest given by the God in this world to understand and sort of examine ourselves, attain the final knowledge. This is an opportunity given us. This is a sort of a rare opportunity, rarest of opportunity, rare to have a life of a human being. Dullabam Manushya Janmanam, having born, I think we have to be more human first, that is the attempt. Whether we are human, with all the human qualities, whether we are able to attain all the human qualities which we are endowed with, whether we are able to realize that, whether we are still subhuman, because since we have not acquired all the capabilities, all the qualities a human being can have, what the qualities that the human being can have. Because if you have Sachitanandam and Sachita Anantam Brahma, this is what finally the Upanishad declares. What is the final bliss, final happiness in this world is been declared by this one simple word, Sachit Anantam Anantam Amritam. Because this is Sachitanandam Brahman. The Brahman is the Anantam, the final one, the bliss. So what is this Sachitanandam? It is the truth in the truthful thoughts. When we are trying to sort of find ourselves, as a different person, when we are having double personalities, when we are having a thought and what we are acting is different, when they don't sync, then we are not having the truth in our thoughts. The truthful thoughts will come when we are able to sort of go by what is really the morally, the code of conduct, what has been taught to us, what we have understood and what we have evolved and what we have ingrained in us. When we are able to do everything and think about that, then the thoughts are there. Otherwise, the thoughts which are pummeling, every minute of us is going to give you different sort of aspects of, your own action, your own perception. So the first thing to evolve is truthfulness in our thoughts, truthfulness in our words, and truthfulness in our action. This is a simple thing, but truthfulness, whatever all of us will feel, because we are all truthful, and we are not, we are never trying to be sort of behaving otherwise. What is truly come, we are trying to act like, but it is not so. But when we try to use some other means to get, something for us, then it is not a truthful thought. When you are sort of hesitating to tell something, which other person would not like to hear, even though it is a fact, then it is not a truthful thought. And when you are acting, some other way, when you are trying to control, someone else, because maybe your children or, your own siblings or your own parents, because with your own thought, we want to create an atmosphere which is conducive to you. You are not concerned about the consequences to them. That is also not a truthful thought. It all happens in our life because we are rather, spread ourselves into a variety of ways. We are not only the soul per se, personified as it is, we have also assumed different sort of roles in our life, because as a sort of we take it as the role of a wife or a husband, we are taking the role of a son or a daughter, we are also taking the role of a father or mother, and we are really taking the role of a brother or sister. And each one of these roles give different expectations and different understanding. That is what exactly, because when you are trying to behave differently in the different aspect of it, and that is not the truthful. And if you are a true person, you will be able to you will be able to behave equally with everyone. How you equally you will be able to behave everyone? Because each one is a sort of a creation personified. So therefore, you will have to give the due importance to them. That is why the glorious vision of the life, what we have talked about, when we have talked about the glorious vision of the life, is to try to understand the same power which is in you is in everyone else, including in your children, including your brothers, your parents, as well as your friends, and even any other person in the world. So once you do that, because you should not try to have the authority by concern, you should not have any authority by affection, you should not try to have an authority by some other, because if you have got the power of wealth, try to have that, exert the authority by that. So that is what, because that is, is absolutely is not a truthful thing, because when you don't realize that, because you want to use everyone as a means, not at the ends. Once you are able to see everyone is a complete being in themselves, like each one of us, then only you will be able to perceive the true thoughts. But it's very difficult in this modern world, and even otherwise, because the way we are living, because everywhere, our relationship always creates an expectations, and undue expectations, sometimes it is sort of a implicit expectation. We think it is naturally done. It's not that one has to ask for. And when it is doesn't happen, we feel, because it is implicit, why it is not happening, because then it happens with our own children, where we think in implicit, we have an our own expectations. We do not have any right to have an expectations, because once you have brought, your children to the world, they are, once they have grown up and all, they are not your children, they are children of the world, they are children of the God. They have to behave themselves, and they have to act themselves, and they have got their own life, and vice versa, because they also, when they have an expectation, we will have to make them understanding, we should be with them, we should go to their help, when it is being sought for. But we should not assume that they need our help and go and help. That is where the problem happens very often, because we think, because they are not into the right thing, because not into the right path, because then we can discuss them, openly discuss them. That is the truthful thing. You openly discuss what is that, because in your mind, this is what you feel, and this is the right way to do. You can discuss that, but it is for them to take it or leave it. But then, because once you discuss with them and gives the pros and cons and all, because it is for them to choose. The right to choose is theirs. Once they have taken the choice, when they have exercised the choice, the responsibility should to them. But we should be there, we should be available to help them to exercise their choice. That is what only the rule. But we assume the role beyond that, because that is where most of the problem happens. Whether, because with our siblings or with our colleagues or friends or our own children, our own parents, these things happen. But once you are truthful, yes, because even if they have gotten a misunderstanding, you have done your best. That's all. You can't do anything about it. All that we can do is the best endeavor to bring ourselves to truthfulness of ours. It is for others to take it or not, because then I have done so much. Why they have not taken? We don't have to bother. But then, because we should be available. It is not that, because we should have the compassion and kindness and the ability to forget and forgive, even if it is unsavory words they have said, because even some sort of a stirring words they have said, and you will be remembering for life. You should never should be able to sort of take it to your heart and take it for life, as if it is something, the great injustice has been done, because it is not at all. It's not happening. It is there at that point of time. The condition of the mind is that. So then you, because being, you being evolved soul, you forget. And you should forgive also. Forgetting and forgiving is the greatest sort of a gift given to us by the God. Once you exercise that, then there will be no conflict in our relationship. Even if there is a conflict, you will be always able to exert the kindness and compassion and these qualities, so that the other person will, over a period of time, certainly they will understand. And as such, because whatever be the relationship, you should always be available when you are needed. At the same time, it is, we should not unduly go into someone's, because when they try to pursue their own way of life, when we don't understand the complexity of those things, when we don't understand the mechanics of what they are doing, and because what is the pursuit they are having, when we don't have a knowledge, we should not unnecessarily interfere with them. Non-interference, as long as you don't understand, and then whenever they get to know some, get your help, want to get your help, you should immediately be available. Whatever is your the wisdom you acquired through your experience, you give it to them and you try to help them out, maybe financially, otherwise whatever is possible. That's what we should be available, but it is not that we should be not be interfering. If that happens, there will be no conflict, because in whatever relationship, at least from our point of view, even if the other person is trying to have a feeling of conflict, they will also over a period of time will give it up. This is the glorious vision of the life that has been brought about in this chapter. That is how we have said, because since the age, because the entire Ishwaram, because he is a Sarva Hriteshu Stitaha, in the sense he is there everyone. So therefore, once he is there, how he is being manifesting in each one of us, it is in our thoughts. When because when you are able to get the right thoughts, when you are able to amplify ourselves, for the benefit of because our own, because relationship, because ripple effect, whatever we are doing is going to have a ripple effect, be with our own friends or even the society or in the corporate world and anywhere in the society or in whatever be the sort of pursuit you are having, there will be a ripple effect. So once you are able to sort of manifest these qualities in you, for that, you should have a vision. That vision, because the glorious vision of the life is being finally given in this chapter of the world. That's why, because when you are doing it, always is the meditative thing, because meditation, what it focuses on, the meditation brings you, because removing all the cobwebs of the thoughts, because it accumulates every day. So therefore, it is necessary to meditate every day so that you are able to remove the cobwebs. Once you remove the cobwebs, what happens, because then, you are able to, you are clean slate. It is not, you are not getting empty, it's a clean slate. And then, because when you are coming out of that, because naturally the qualities, the kindness and compassion, whatever we are think, we have, it will also multiply to a great extent. But that, because we will have a very good vision of the world. So we will be able to talk the right words. We will be able to do the right action. And we will be trying to be, available, whenever someone wants it. This is what the glorious vision of the life. So therefore, what happens is we are respecting everyone. We are taking everyone. We have got a magnanimous view to encompass everyone into a scheme of things. At the same time, it doesn't happen deliberately. It happens, because you happen to have these qualities, because of your own pursuit of this. So therefore, because when you are having this pursuit, because this Upanishad brings up in the three fantastic, because first they brought the tree of samsara, Udva, because when they said, inverted tree, first mantra we see it. The inverted tree is, because the entire and the ground, the roots, they are the one, which are giving you the energy. The ground is the divine ground. It's the Brahman, and the roots are this Mula Prakriti. She is giving you entire wherewithal. This entire body, which is composition of all the five elements, is Mula Prakriti given. When the prana, which comes, because it's out of that. So once you are able to have the energy to experience this world, you get that. And then what happens is in the world, as it gets, grown into the branches and trees and the leaves and all, because you also get into the world and get involved into that. You forget about the root. The root is, because always what happens, because even when we are growing up, in whatever be the surroundings, when we forget the roots, when we get into the new environments, and then we are bogged down. But when everything, because it's being not palatable, and when we get into sort of a mess, and we think, it's better that we get back to my root, because that is what we take it as a last resort. The Upanishad says, don't take it as the last resort. It should be always be conscious of that. See, whatever, because you had a simple life in your village and you lived, wonderfully with all the people in the village. And once you come to the city, because the city life has got its own ramifications, you also get into the pell-mell of the city and get lost into that. So therefore, at that point of time, always remember the roots. Once you remember the roots, you will always be trying to, because you will be able to take it, as it is. You will not be mystified. You will not be sucked into the vortex of the city life. You will be able to keep the root, and then you will be able to stand. This is exactly the first mantra of this Upanishad brought about. That is, that what we see it in, because it also said it is always a timeless tree. And the timeless tea, it has also got the benefit of giving you the energy from the roots, as well as because it grows into the branches and giving a lot of experiences and all. But when all these experiences rather grows into that, you should also develop the wherewithal to cut your because access to this all these fruits which you have been you should enjoy the fruit and know what it is. Once you know, yes, only this much and that's all. Afterwards, because then you are forgetting, but you will be just forgetting this particular fruit and experience and all, because they only this much. Likewise, whatever comes to us, whatever benefit, comforts and luxury that comes to us, they are all only because only the sort of a ephemeral. They will all be there and they will finally go. Finally, you will have to get back to the roots. You will always remember the roots. That was the first mantra said. The second and third mantra, they were telling, because the entire thing is under the control and command of one particular person. It is the Brahman. Because when the Brahman is says, because everyone is, they are all, because being controlled by him, and they are all working to the perfection, because they will not be able to disobey. इतितं किंच जगत प्राण ये जति निश्चितम because mahad bhayam vajrabhudyam yedati bhratate bhavanti because when they said even all the thunder or even the wind and even yama because what we saw in the last mantra, they are all working to perfection because they are all under the command and control. It's not that each one of us are doing they're creating their own empire and trying to act. In fact, there is a one Bell theory is there. I think one of us we might have heard about the theory. It is talking about the simultaneity of action everywhere and all. He says if something happens in the sun, it is also happening in every other part of the galaxies, somewhere, and it's also happening. It's also happening into the persons, like creatures like us. It's also happening, but we don't understand that. In fact, there was a very famous study, by the Princeton University during the 9/11. At that point of time, because now that department, is perhaps renamed and all, reconfigured. In that, they have brought about a study when they said at that point of time, they were monitoring, consequent to the Vietnam War. There was a lot of, the turmoil, with the mental turmoil, a lot of the psychological problems were there in the veterans as well as the people who were involved in the Vietnam. It was a long drawn war. It was not supposed to be so long drawn, and the government involved, because the ego was the USA thought, they are going to be the master of the world. That's how they got into, and finally, they of course, embraced the defeat. So, in order to, they were always observing how the mental vibrations of the people, they were all monitoring, because through the remote satellites as well as the centers were there individually also trying to monitor. On that, because they were trying to have the vibration, they brought it to a common denominator like a ECG, how the waves, how it is going about. On the day of 9/11, they could observe there was a clear sort of, the confusion across the minds of a lot of people. Already they were suspecting something likely to happen because there are one or two indications were there earlier. On that day when it happened, they saw, because in fact, people, because whatever verbally they are talking, even the counselors, who are all dealing with the people, they were also giving the report. People were not there on their own, because they were also talking something, because which is, they were not able to express. Then they said, because the entire thing, because is affecting, something, somewhere it happens. It is not that, it is an individual event happening somewhere in the world. It also affects the every part of the world and every cosmos, everywhere it happens. So it is like that. Then when we see, the universal consciousness, when we see, It has a meaning, based on the Bell's theory of simultaneity. Of course, because our Upanishads, have already predicted, because by telling, that everything is under command and control, telling that like everything is under command and control working to perfection, you will not be able to send a satellite, unless they are all in order. Because they are all working to your command and control. You will have to sort of adjust the speed, you will have to adjust the angle so that the satellite, the rackets move, and finally the satellites are put in place. Likewise, it is also, they say, take for taking that, and you also consider yourself like that, because you also act in sync with your thoughts, words, and actions. And try to do, because then if all our sort of limbs and because the senses don't work to perfection, we can't be sitting here and talking, because we will all be having different kinds of everything will be given a different medical term, because the every abnormality is being given a medical term. And even little forgetfulness is being treated with a type of dementia. It is that we will only be trying to rephrase it, and we will not try to evolve ourselves in that. So therefore, because you try to synchronize yourself, then once because you are like that, and you will have to behave like that. Always try to have a sync in your thought, perception, thought, and action. That is the real meditation, because whatever meditation finally accomplishes is, because you don't differ, with what you are thought, because you are not having your own sort of a, you are not, wearing a different cloak, when you are doing action and all. Because that happens because of the practice habits, and the world is like that. But once you come about that, because you will not be always be success in the metrics of the world, but you will be more successful in your own metrics. But success will automatically come to you. It is not that you will have to seek for that. It will automatically come to you. And but now we are going after something, what the world is trying to sort of celebrate. That is where the problem happens. This is exactly because has been brought about in this mantra, and the next mantra also. This is the fourth mantra we are going to see in this Upanishad. It is something like that what we have seen in Kathopanishad, that we will also discuss that. It is in your 126th page. Having the glorious vision of the life, having seen everything is working to an order, and like because even whatever your body is also like a cosmic life, and you are to behave with all the synchronicity with some galaxies are functioning. That synchronicity is not only in the limbs and senses, it is also in your thought, words, and action, body, mind, and intellect. So body, mind, and intellect, because when the intellect, doesn't work, because very going wayward. When intellect is, you are trying to get, every sort of, like a wind, you are wavering. You may have an intellect, but your intellect may not be applied rightly. The application of the intellect is more into action. The intellect, will be able to guide your action, because the mind, gives you on all the inputs, but then finally the intellect says what is wrong and what is right. But if you are not able to decide what is wrong and right, you always have a self doubt. The self doubt has to be totally eliminated, because in the sense, once I'm not going, I'm going to do only what I am capable of, what is within my realm, and what I believe in, then that's all, that's good enough. But if we try to do something, because someone else is doing, but this is how I have been advised, or because nowadays so many social media things, and if you do that, you will get that. And because if you want to create a wealth, or if you want to cure your diabetic, or if you do so many other things, but then you have been given a regimen by your doctor, trying to follow the doctor and try to see, because then you have got, other than the mind over medication, is a medication is only 10% of it. 90% of it is through your own body mechanism, the placebo. The placebo will come only when you are having a meditative form of life. The meditative form of life is not only, every day I am doing a meditation, need not necessarily be the meditative form of life. The meditative form of life is every time, because when I'm able to think and act and do it, with clarity, whatever clarity is there, I will do it. If there is no clarity, I will try to find exactly, and try to regurgitate, and reflect, and try to know, then only I will act. Once you do that, because that is the best thing. But when you do, when you know everything, don't hesitate to do it. Once you have got a right knowledge, and you have got the right capacity, and you have got the right thought, go about it. Don't do it, don't hesitate. But at the same time, don't jump into action because someone else is telling and someone else has influenced you. Don't go by the influences. That is why, because we have seen all these three mantras. The last two mantras have given as if, the God is, because he is the one, finally controlling the reins of the entire cosmos. It is true. And because whatever we have known, because that latest Euclid telescope, it has said, that we have got about 1.5 million galaxies. 1.5 million galaxies means, because we are in one of the small galaxies and the Earth is one small part of it. The 1.5 million galaxies, beyond our imagination. And, because that infinitesimal, the phantasmagorial gargantuan proportion, we may not be imagined. Because when you do that, someone is, because keeping everything in order. When they are existing so far, we have not come to know, and they are also interacting. Everything is happening. Their effects are also onto the earth. The earth's effect also must be going in there. Everything must be happening. So likewise, when so many things are unknown, because when you are trying to find the innards of ourselves, we will have to live to the perfection in this world as far as we are able to be convinced with our thought, words, and action. That is more than enough. That alone is enough. You don't have to go for anything, because if I don't believe anything, I will not do because it has to be done, because I have been assigned to do or someone wants me to do, not that. I will totally refuse. I will have the ability to say no. Most of us don't have the ability to say no. And once I am convinced, even someone says, because it is not to be done, it is to be done, I will do it. Because if it is the right thing, I will do it. Why should I not do that? Because if I am convinced, yes, I will do that. So there is no point, because in wavering about it, you go about and do it. But that once you have the conviction, you will not have the self doubt. Once you don't have the self doubt, that is the highest form of blissful life. And next mantra, we are seeing the same thing. It is 2.3.4. This page 126. You will be seeing the precious human birth. Durlabham Manushya Janmanam. What we have talked about, it is talking about the rebirth continues until realization. That's what it says. See, whatever you do, finally realize the God. Every religion says realize the God. How you realize the God? Realize the God in the sense the power which is given to you when you are able to the sort of apprehend some of the mystical moments in your own. Because when you had a confusion, finally the clarity comes. That is a mystical moment. When you have too many options, when you have got too much of because when you are into a mess, you're coming out of the mess, some clarity comes at that point of time. That clarity is being given by the ultimate power, who is within you. He is your friend, he is always there. You are not chit-chatting, because it is conversation with the God, because the people say it is like, once you are in a meditative, because then you are able to get into your innards, when you are able to see, how am I to go about and how to do about. When you see, finally you get some clarity out of that. And then, whatever clarity comes, you do it, because then, it's not that, once you, then you exercise the choice. There will be consequences. It's not that nothing is without consequences, because it will have a ripple effect. But the consequences, will also be slowly, because it will be sort of a embraceable. It will be to your benefit, it will happen. It will not be, something you taking you out of your mori. So now in this mantra says, Iha chet ashakat bodhum. If you are not succeeding in this life, what is that? In realizing. Ika chet. Chet is the finally knowing. Because same mantra we have got in Kathopanishad. Iha chet vediti, amrutam bhavati, iha chet na vediti. That is entire catastrophe, it says. Iha chet ashoktakam parishrasya visrasamaha. Tata sargeshu lokeshu sharitatva kalpati. If one does not succeed in realizing in this birth, before, because the body goes off from the power, which has been, with you, and when you are able to, you've been given an opportunity to evolve, then in the worlds of created things, a rebirth may be ordained. In the sense, because the rebirth, certainly will come, because you've got unfulfilled desires, you've got, because a lot of, certain things, which you had expectations which have not happened. It's not always a desire, some expectation which has not happened. And, you had some lack, in your feeling. when you feel you have got some lack, something is lacking, because when you don't feel I have got everything, when you feel everything, I have got everything, that is a fulfillment. That feeling, because even you try it, I can say I have got everything, but actually I don't have everything. This is, what, most of us think. But we have been given everything. And because nothing, we are not lacking anything. Because if you see people around us, there are so many people with whatever minimum what we are having, without that, they are still sort of, they smilingly, they leading the life. But, we having so many things, we have got so many sort of a thing, either it is because relationship based, or either it is based of our own comforts and sort of conditions. Otherwise, because it is that, what should have happened in my life, having, gone through the life, having suffered all along. Because, because the past comes to, because I have done so many things, but there is no compensation but whatever I have undergone. There need not be any compensation, because the past is past. The past has the stepping stone for you to be in this future here. Having come here, don't forget about, will you be going down and having come to the third floor? Because your goal is to attain the third floor. Goal is to attain the Everest. But once you go to the base camp, then you will have to think of the next camps, where you will have to go. You are not going to see that. Likewise, when you see further, and don't go with expectation. Don't expect, there will not be a storm, or there will not be a hailstorm, or there will not be a the sort of, the avalanche. Nothing will be. You will have to get up, get there. And finally, when you will have to have your own strength, and you are capable of that. That capability is there, and to understand your own capability is, in this birth you have given an opportunity. In this birth you have been given an opportunity, in that the mystical moments when you got the clarity of the thoughts, that is the mystical moments. You will be able to apprehend, those, but you will not be able to comprehend so vast a power, because he is occupying the entire world. He is also an occupant in you. And, we are trying to, it's like a fruit is trying to find the root. That's what we are doing. We having come up, from the seed, because, now we are trying to find, where the root is, how it is and all. Then you will not be able to have a full, you will be able to have some sort of a sort of brief comprehensive apprehension of that. And with that, because you should gain the strength, and the thought and action words should continue. So there are a lot of examples are there in this. See, one person came to Ramana Maharshi and asked him, look, you are telling all the liberation and all, because this mantra also tells, with this body, if you are not able to realize the God, you will not be able to do it. It says, Ihachet Ashakat Bodhum Prak Sharirasya Visrasah. Before the body falls off, if you are not able to have a realization of the God, that is the apprehension of the God, some mystical moments. If you are not able to get, look, the God has given me some clarity of the mind. God has guided me here. The God had, because when everything I thought lost, God has finally given me some rope by which, I could come back. Now I am in a position like that. Because when you say that gratitude, because the gratitude is something, which you'll have to cultivate. It doesn't come automatically. The gratitude is the fundamental aspect by which you will be able to get all these aspects. So once you have that gratitude, naturally the compassion and kindness and will come, that will again build up into the forgetting and forgiving attitude of ours. If you can forget and forgive, and there is a wonderful thing in the world. You will not have any conflict any so ever. For that, because this has to come. And for that, when it has to come, we will have to cultivate it, and no one will give it, and everyone will be sort of always trying to test us. In this test, you will have to be unassailed, with your firm stand as to I am going to act, because what I am, if it is not possible for me, if it is not going to be my thing, and I am going to say no. But I will say this is it. When wherever I can do, I am not going to hesitate. I will just, because do it, and I will go ahead and do it, and try exercise the choice and take the responsibility for the choice. Then he says, if it is not there, what happens? Tataha sargeshu lokeshu sariratvatya kalpate. So if in these worlds of created things, in the sense, because We have got 14 worlds, in our Shastras, 7 Patalas and 7 upper world and all. Assuming, because mentally, even they say, some of the other planets may be having a creatures, life there. It's quite possible we may be, because rather, being a creature there, it may happen there. It need not necessarily be, you'll have to born as animal or like a sort of a plant here and all. It may also happen. It says it is the thought has got so much of a power, it will have an implication, ripple effect all through the cosmos, all through the world. Because that universal consciousness, when they say, it has got a great meaning in that. It's not that, of course, as we may think, but once you thoughts evolve in so much, finally you have got so much of a higher thoughts, elevated thoughts. Finally, that will keep you in good stead. And finally, if anything has to happen, even if you are able to apprehend, then it's going. It is there's nothing like that. You got to the realization of the God in this world. If you don't get it, your thought will take you to the other world or the other creatures. Maybe it's not necessary that you'll have to take a human birth again. That's no guarantee. So that is why the Sanatana Dharma is biggest. Why they are telling us, because why we have to be having, all this. They use this birth to the utmost is saying like that. Because in Christianity they say, it's only one birth. In this birth, if you became you liberated, you became a good person, you get liberated. Otherwise, you are condemned for life. But in our case, it is not that. You have got an opportunity, you can still evolve. But then whatever you have accumulated, the good qualities that comes to you, that take you in a good state next birth. But then it gives a sort of a final sort of help to us. Look, having taken this birth, why don't you use it? Because in this birth, it is not only one, try to be a complete human being. And having become a complete human being, the next thing is mumukshatva. Mumukshatva is to become a sage-like person, a person, evolved person, who can take, because to a higher sort of a elevation, where you will be able to sort of, at that position, you will be able to encompass the entire humanity in you, and you will entire humanity and all the creatures. And once that at mumukshatvam, then to mahapurushatvam, then you become a very big, the great masters, like acharyas, and because others who have come into this world and sort of showed the way for us, like Upanishad masters. All these Upanishad masters, they have all, it is the intuitive words they have brought about, by their constant, trying, by their effort to evolve. Finally, all those things have been culminated into these Upanishadic words. So, having given that, why don't we take this opportunity to evolve? This is what this is. And this also said, because that if you don't do it, because then, of course, you'll have to come with the rebirth. But the rebirth is not guaranteed, whether you become a human being. The rebirth, could be, anything other than this, because the 84 lakh creatures we have seen. Now, because you can go, because with the Bell theory and all, you could be born in any other planet, anywhere also. There is a life, and because some other form, aliens, we could be that also. But in this, our Shastra says, because when you say get elevated, when you get into, because you leave this physical body and you get Chetana body, Chaitanya body. Chaitanya body in the sense you are not going to take the human birth and you become the part of intellect. It is the repository of the entire, the universal consciousness, like that. And you get into whatever Surga or whatever, they say, in that, you become one of the Chaitanya body. Chaitanya, once you have got a Chaitanya body and all, and then you will be finally being a guiding force. You will be sort of giving your vibration as a guru to so many people. It is that, Shastra says, because by interpretation we can say, it could be much beyond what we are. And because when we have an opportunity to be there and having evolved, why should we miss this opportunity with this human body before the body goes off? This is the sum and substance of this. And if you have anything, because we can just have a minute to go, I think, we will take it up. Yes, madam.
Yes. Hello, sir. Just wanted to ask you about that relationship. Sometimes uh, when we are really truthful in relationships, the other person, if he is not in that mode of mind, it's really difficult. Means
You,
we tend to quote a real truth with slightly
yeah, correct.
sugar coated.
Correct. You
So
are correct.
effective
That is where very difficult, very
to manage.
difficult, very
So
difficult.
how to that balance?
That is where, you will have to pardon them, forgive them. Don't forget them, forgive them. So this happened, I was participating in the Pyramid Valley